Welcome back. It is an election day, and we just met the new head of the Sioux Falls Development Foundation talking to us from Fox City, Wisconsin. But we have turned the page. Answers on Aging. June is Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month, and in the studio, two of my best friends, Brandy Fiala and Bobby Turry. All right, you two, are you ready?
Yes, good morning, Bill.
Senior care and law leadership really gives us two professions in one. They fit in 2018, what really is good. So, Brandy, you're the first one on the list. Alzheimer's disease, public health crisis. Why is that so important today, even the fact that it is in the month of June?
Well, June is Alzheimer's Awareness Month, and every month for those suffering with the disease is they are aware of it. But we really want to raise public awareness this month. June 21st is the longest day, and that's a nationally celebrated recognition for those suffering with Alzheimer's, and that's in light of it's the longest. But it is a public health crisis. I mean, there are 17,000 South Dakotas that are living with Alzheimer's, and that impacts our economy as a whole, from caregivers taking off time from work to early retirement to stepping down in management positions and taking lower positions so that they can caregive and whatnot. It affects our economy as a whole, as well as Medicaid costs. Those associated with Alzheimer's disease in 2017 was 157 million, and that's a really big number. And those costs are only expected to increase by quite a bit, 30% by 2020.
So when we start talking about that, what do you guys bring to the table? What should we be thinking about? Because that increase between now and 2025 expected to be over 30%.
People should just be thinking about the what ifs. This is a disease that no one knows if they'll be stricken with or not, or if their loved ones will be. So that comes into play with a lot of the planning for senior living costs and for home health costs and all those associated with any type of chronic disease.
All right, Bobby, I haven't been ignoring you. Bobby Cherry, of course, is with Legacy Law Firm, and we want to talk a little bit about the importance of being able to make a decision while you still can. Why is that so important on the legal
side? Once your capacity is gone, it's gone. It's too late to do that. So unfortunately, when people don't plan ahead, and specifically what we will sometimes encounter too often is that no one had a power of attorney in place. Well, once you, again, have lost capacity or have issues with capacity starting to dwindle, a lot of times it might be too late to do a good power of attorney to make sure that you have someone to make legal decisions and to essentially sign your name on your behalf to make those options and decisions. So it's critical that families have good powers of attorney in place. If they don't, most of the time they're looking at going into court and having a guardianship or conservatorship.
Care is expensive. The number that I see is about $230, $235 per day, which is a lot of money.
That's correct. It's one that the earlier you start planning for, the better, because your options really do start going away with every click of that clock. So when that clock starts ticking, it's critical to get in there really fast. And quite frankly, we recommend people going in and starting to do planning way earlier, before a bad health diagnosis or before an accident happens. I mean, it just takes one trip and then a broken hip, or one diagnosis saying, yes, you've got dementia or Alzheimer's. The family in panic, and a lot of times people are scared of that financial cost. That national estimate by the Alzheimer's Association is that around $86,000 a year. So, and that's just for one person. So there's financial costs for family, and there's emotional costs for
Brandy Fiala and Bobby Turek with us, Edgewood Senior Living and Legacy Law Firm. Okay, you were thinking of a family with a wife being 10 years younger. Tell us what you were thinking.
What we encounter too often is people wait before they do anything. And they think that it'll, I love that we are eternally optimistic, but at the same time, we've got to make the plan to, just in case something does happen or it doesn't go as we expected. And in this family situation, the husband was diagnosed with dementia, and it progressed. But health-wise, other than cognitive issues, he's healthy. And he's been in a nursing home now for, over 5 years, and their life savings are dwindling. And that's scary especially for the wife, because she is healthy and she's not in a facility, but yet their life savings are. So again, it's absolutely critical that people start planning ahead as early as possible. And even if it doesn't run in your family, as Brandy mentioned, this is something that sometimes, unfortunately, you get that diagnosis and then your world is turned upside down. So the earlier you do the planning, the better for the family.
That I kind of know that got a diagnosis for a 45-year-old with twins, cancer, not expected to live more than 2 years, no power of attorney.
In that situation, we actually tell people if you're over the age of 18, no one can legally sign on your behalf because you're a legal adult. So we always say, hey, if you're over the age of 18, you should actually have a good power of attorney for financial affairs and a good power of attorney for healthcare in place, just because things do happen. I was involved with a young couple in their 20s that just got married, and a few months later, the husband was involved in a car accident and had brain trauma. Life can change in a blink of an eye. So doing that planning, especially when you've got a family, if you've got the spouse or the children that are relying on you, this is, I think, the part where you can step up and make sure that your family's taken care of in case you can't.
Working together is what I really like to talk about, because you guys are different. The fact that you've come together as a law firm and also a senior living center, Legacy Law, Edgewood Senior Living. What advantages do you have? What do the families feel when you guys are able to work together?
I think the families get more peace of mind and comfort that they're depending on a reliable, credible source to take care of their loved one, and as well as to take care of their financial affairs and their future well-being.
I would just add to that, as far as you've got to approach it holistically anymore, because it goes hand in hand. Your well-being and your quality of life is important, as well as being able to manage those financial affairs if you can't. And so again, they're intertwined, and I think it's important to look at it holistically so that you can have that ideal life that you want. Don't let life just happen to you, because a lot of times when life happens, it's not the choices that you
The
would
age
make.
55, we mentioned the age, somebody that in the blink of an eye, things would change. Hopefully people listening to us today, talking with Edgewood Senior Living and Legacy Law, kind of understand that life is changing. You never know. We heard of a 64-year-old that got killed in a motorcycle accident over the weekend, worked in the hospitals there. You never know when that's going to happen. He was visiting family in Iowa. It can happen to anybody. We just never know the time.
We don't. If we had that crystal ball, we would sure be using it.
We'd be scared,
yeah,
wouldn't we?
that too. That too. Life is precious, but that's what makes it special too. So we
did
shouldn't
talk
waste any
about
minute.
one example of a wife 10 years younger. You guys are constantly talking to people, kind of questions that you're getting that you can share on the radio without giving anybody.
The questions that we are hitting are they're scared about these costs of long-term care and how they're going to pay for something. So the earlier they can do planning, we help people do asset protection planning. And the other thing we help with is making sure that they're going to be set up so that if they can't make their own healthcare decisions or financial decisions, they know that it's taken care of like they would want it taken care of.
We get a lot of questions as well related to costs, and as well as related to getting by. I think a lot of times seniors are just getting by at home, and sometimes even though you're getting by, that might not be the safest option. So sometimes having that pre-planning and that foresight ahead of just getting by can hurt you sometimes in the long run, versus being proactive and getting into a senior living community such as Edgewood that can help you prolong your health and your life and your
The other
longevity.
thing too, and regardless of age, if you lose a mate, you had a plan financially to make it work. You lose a mate, guess what? Your income isn't the same, and that is a big change.
That's correct. That's a dramatic change. And a lot of times people just think, oh, well, life will go on. But you don't just hop out of bed the next day and go to work. Things have changed, and it's so hard. And again, that's where having that plan in place financially, but also overall to make sure that that surviving spouse or kids are taken care of.
Edgewood does have a promotion right now I want to mention. We do have $5,000 off of first year's rent that goes through the end of July. So I just want to give that out there as we're talking about the costs associated with senior living. Sometimes if you weigh the pros and cons with utilities and food costs and rent and the house and mortgage, you can find that sometimes independent living, assisted living can be much more affordable and kind of keep you out of that expensive, scary costs associated with more of the long-term care skilled nursing
Changing,
homes.
take care of your family. Thanks for the visit today.
Thanks,
Thank
Phil.
you, Belle.